Hey everybody, what's up? This is Aaron with Aaron's Movie Reviews, and I'm coming to you. I just literally got home a little bit ago from seeing Scream 5. And so while it's fresh in my mind, I wanted to go ahead and do a review. Now, there will be spoilers in this review, so if you haven't seen it, you don't want it to be spoiled, I totally understand. Stop watching now, because I will have spoilers in this movie or in this review. I'm going to start off by saying I really liked it. I know a lot of people didn't. It seems to be very, very divisive among the Scream community. A lot of people love it, and a lot of people hate it. There doesn't seem to be any in between. It's either they love it with a passion or they hate it with a passion. I loved it with a passion. I thought it was a really, really good movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. I think sometimes, and I've been guilty of this too, people take movies a little bit too seriously. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a movie. But I thought it was a highly entertaining movie. I thought it did really well with the bringing legacy characters back, but not having them overshadow the new young cast, especially Cindy. You know, first spoiler ahead, she's not in the movie very much. You don't see Cindy a whole lot until the end. You see her quite a bit at the end, but for the first probably hour and 15 minutes, I think you see her one time, and that's okay because when she's on screen, it kicks ass. It's really good. I have admitted in the past to not being a huge fan of the Cindy Prescott character. I thought she was a tad bit more almost like a Terminator by part four. She was just so highly invincible and impossible to kill. And I thought after a while it just kind of got old. But I will admit she's really good in this movie. The short time she's in there, she kicks ass. Gail has sort of become a caricature of herself or something. I mean, Gail, it's not the same Gail Weathers we saw in the first three or four movies. Even well, especially the first three movies. She's maybe it's what Courtney Cox has done to herself. She just doesn't even look like Gail Weathers anymore. Not to say she was bad in the movie by any means. She wasn't. She had a really emotional scene I'll get to here in a little bit, but overall, she was just not Gail Weathers anymore. But it also I guess makes sense in a way because at the end of the day, after all that these three have been through, none of them are going to be the same as they were at the beginning. So that makes sense. Dewey, God, I love Dewey, and uh, we'll get into spoilers later, but there was an issue, a couple of issues I had with the movie, and one of them had to do with Dewey. But overall, it was a lot of fun. It was literally just me and like this family of like five or six people down below me. The problem was these five or six people brought like, there's like three adults and three kids. Two of the kids are probably under the age of 10, and they're just screaming dumbass at the screen the entire time. Like, tell the kids to shut up. Um, And it wasn't even when characters were being stupid. Characters are stupid all the time. That's one of the things I did really like about this movie. There wasn't really a whole lot of stupid characters in this movie. They knew the rules, and for the most part, they tried to follow them. And if one of them was about to not follow it, there was another character there to basically say, "What are you fucking stupid? Don't do this, don't do that. Haven't you seen these movies before?" So I thought that was really cool. There wasn't a whole lot of stupid characters. Like, to be honest, Tatum in the first movie was pretty stupid. Um, can't really think of any characters in part two that were overly stupid. I don't guess. I mean, or in part three. I mean, one of my favorite characters in part three is Jennifer, and she's at one point says she's sticking next to Gail Weathers because the killer really wants to kill Gail. So maybe they'll kill the real Gail and not her, the pretend Gail. So but this movie, there was really no stupid characters that I can think of off the top of my head. Anyway, real quick, gonna go through the cast here. Of course, Nev Campbell is back as Sydney. Courtney Cox is Gail, and David Arquette is Dewey. The new, I guess you can call her the new Sydney. His name's Samantha, and it's played by Melissa Berea. She did a great job. I thought she did a good job. She has a really dark secret, which right now I'm trying not to spoil too much, and then I'll say I'm going to start spoiling things here in a little bit. But right now, to say she has a really dark secret in the movie that is a lot of fun. I think a lot of people didn't like it, but I liked it. Jenna Ortega played her little sister Tara, who was attacked at the beginning. Mikey Madison played Amber. Jack Quaid played a character named Richie. Jack Quaid, come on, man. His mom is Meg Ryan and his dad's Dennis Quaid. Of course, he's a good actor. It's in his genes, in his DNA. Marley Shelton was back as Judy Hicks, who is now the sheriff of Woodsboro. She has a son named Wes, played by Dylan Minnette. Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son, Mason, played Chad Meeks, and Jasmine Brown played his twin sister, Mindy. You notice the last name Meeks, Chad and Mindy Meeks. That is the niece and nephew of Randy from Screams 1 and 2, Jamie Kennedy's character. So Jasmine Brown's Mindy Meeks is basically a female version of Randy. She's the one who knows all the rules, and she's the one who has the mandatory, speaking of the rules speech in the movie. Sonia Amar plays a character named Liv, who is just kind of there. She's just one of the friends. Kyle Gallner plays Vince, who you find out later in the movie is related to a character from the original. It was written by James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick, who I thought did a good job. They wrote a really entertaining script. It had its moments of pure violence and terror. It also had its moments of comedy. It was really funny in points. And overall, people may disagree with this, but I thought the characters were pretty likable. There was one character, Kyle Gallner's character, you don't really get to know enough to know much about him. But all the other characters, they all had their moments. They all had their scenes where they got to kind of shine. And to me, they were all really likable, with the exception of Liv. And I'm not saying Liv wasn't likable. Again, she just doesn't have a whole hell of a lot to do in the movie. There's just not a whole lot to Liv. And I'll put it to you this way: I literally just left the movie like an hour ago, and I don't remember much from her. So, if she did have more that I'm not remembering, it wasn't memorable because I don't remember it. It was directed by the guys who do Radio Silence, Matt Benatelli Open and Tyler Gillette. Awesome job, guys. If there's a Scream 6 and you guys are hired to come back, then I'll be happy about it because I think you need continuity in these movies. I mean, yeah, the first four were directed by the late great Wes Craven. We all know that. Unfortunately, Wes is no longer here. So if you're going to do these movies, don't do 7, 8, 9, 10 Scream movies and have a different director each and every time. If you can bring people in to continue what they started on the last one, then do that. And these two guys have both said in interviews leading up to the release they would love to come back for another one. So if they're willing to come back for another one, Paramount, go bring them back for another one because I think they did a hell of a job. The movie's length, it was about an hour and 50 minutes, 55 minutes, somewhere around there, minus the credits, which lasted probably about 4 or 5 minutes. So you're looking at an hour 55, maybe right around 2 hours. It's about the same length as all the other Scream movies. They were all about an hour and 50 minutes long. I admittingly was not a huge fan of Scream 4. And that doesn't mean I thought it was a bad movie. It's just, it was my least favorite of the four. And I think a lot of it has to do with just, I didn't think the characters were as likable other than Kirby, played by Hayden Panettiere. She was the only character that I really, really liked. I didn't really care for Jill, who, of course, spoiler alert, turned out to be the killer. But I didn't really care about her. I didn't care about Charlie, who was played by the Culkin kid, Macaulay Culkin's little brother. It's not that he was bad by any means. He just didn't have a whole lot to do. And then all of a sudden, he just pops up as the killer. And that is another issue I have with this movie, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, this movie does suffer from that, where one of the characters is just nothing and nobody, and then just suddenly, bam, there they are. There was a lot of talk before the movie was released about Stu Macher's character coming back, or Stu Macher, the character coming back. And Matthew Lillard has been saying it for months on interviews that he would love to come back as Stu. He doesn't think Stu's dead. Stu may not be dead, but Stu's not in this movie. You don't see Stu Macher in this movie. But, and this has just been announced, this has just been released on Facebook a few days ago, so I'm not really blowing any big spoiler here. Matthew Lillard is in the movie. He does have a line in the movie, as does Drew Barrymore and Jamie Kennedy. They all have a line in the movie. So knowing that before I went to see it, I was trying to pick it out, and I picked out Matthew Lillard's line, and I picked out Jamie Kennedy's line. Unfortunately, I did not get. I couldn't hear Drew Barrymore's line. So, I think they said she played the principal, and at one point the principal comes up and tells the kids that school's been canceled. And I just wasn't paying enough attention at that point to remember. Oh, that's I think that's Drew Barrymore. But Matthew Lillard and Jamie Kennedy, I heard both their lines loud and clear, and you could tell it's them when you hear it. So it's kind of cool. I'll get to that here in a minute too about where those scenes are. Um, I've been going for 11 minutes, so now I'm going to start with the spoilers. Spoilers start right about now. So the movie opens with Tara, who's played by Jenny Ortega. She's cooking, making some snacks. She's trying to get her girlfriend to come over. She is apparently dating Amber, and she's trying to get Amber to come over. She and Amber are texting back and forth, and suddenly her landline rings. She picks it up, and it's the killer talking to her on the other end of the phone. And they start doing the Drew Barrymore back and forth that Drew Barrymore and Ghostface did in the first one, where he's asking her about what her favorite scary movie is, and she keeps saying the Babadook, and he starts talking to her about the Stab movies, and he even does the let's play a game. I want to play. Do you want to play a game? And it's a Stab trivia game, and she is not a Stab fan. She says that in the movie. She saw the first one when she was younger, and that was it. At this point in the movie, and this point in the universe, there's been 8 Stab movies, and so the killer starts asking her anyway, and he basically tells her he's got Amber tied. He's got Amber's phone. He's looking at her. He sends a picture. He sends a video of Amber in her bedroom. So the killer is showing that Amber's not on the phone. Amber's never been on the phone. It's been him the whole time, and he's got Amber in his sights. And she has to answer the questions right to survive, or she has to answer the questions right so that Amber can survive. And the first question, I believe, is I'm trying to remember. I didn't write this down. I should have. But I believe the first question was who's the main character? And she gets it right with Sydney. And then who wrote the book? She got that right with Gail. And then it was who played basically Drew Barrymore's character, who played Casey in the original Stab. She's looking it up real quick on her phone, finds Heather Graham. Bam, got it right. Now, the first question was just a warm up question. It didn't count. She had to get all 3 of the main questions right to save Amber. And the fourth question, the final question she had to get right was who was the killers in Stab? And all she says is Billy Loomis. And obviously she gets it wrong because it's Billy Loomis and Stu Macher. So she thinks he's about to kill Amber. She runs out the door to catch him, opens the door, Ghostface attacks. Brutal attack. I mean, this poor girl gets messed up. And it ends the opening scene with the knife up in the air and the stab down and a scream, and then the word scream pops up on the screen. And you find out a little bit later that Tara survived. She's in the hospital. And so the character of Chad calls, I believe it was Chad that called. No, it was Wes that called. Wes calls Sam. It's the first time we meet Melissa Berea's Sam character. Her and her boyfriend, Jack Quaid, Richie, are at work at a bowling alley. You meet them. She finds out her sister's been attacked. Tara's her sister. She comes back to Woodsboro after leaving 5 years earlier. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go minute by minute through the movie. I mean, that's ridiculous amount of spoiling right there. But she knows something that nobody else knows. And here's one of the major spoilers of the movie. She is the daughter of Billy Loomis. Billy Loomis and her mother had sex when they were in high school before Billy Loomis died, obviously. She finds out when she's 13 by going up into the attic and finding a diary that her mother wrote in high school. And so she reads the diary, finds out who her father truly is. Her real father leaves because he finds out and gets angry and leaves the mother and the kids. And then Sam leaves. When she turns 18, she moves out on her own. disappears and is gone for 5 years up until this attack happens. She had not seen her sister or her mother in 5 years. So she comes back. Obviously, at this point, she understands that she knows that Ghostface attacked her sister. She knows who she is. So she has to come back and tell everybody that I am Billy Loomis's daughter. And she also starts seeing visions of Billy Loomis. She saw one in the bathroom right before Ghostface attack. She saw one in the car while she was driving. And then during the final fight, she sees one too. It's hard to tell with what they're doing with Billy. I mean, of course he's evil. He's a serial killer. But he apparently is not there to harm his daughter. He apparently there to help her. That's kind of what it turns into at the end. He helps her out at the end. So I don't know if the whole point is trying to turn Billy sympathetic somehow, or if it's just I didn't fully understand what they were trying to do with Billy. But at the end of the day, I didn't care. I loved seeing the character back. He was wearing the white shirt he wore in the Scream with the blood stain on it. He had the blood stain on his face. He looked like, the Billy Loomis from the end of the first Scream movie, which was really cool. And to see Skeet Ulrich back, at the end of the movie when they do the picture credits like they do in every movie where they show a picture and then the cast name. It says Skeet Ulrich is Billy, and it was really cool to see that. A lot of people didn't like it, and I get it. But I'm one of the few people in the world that likes Scream 3. So the whole, everybody's comparing it to Scream 3 where Sydney saw her dead mother. I don't necessarily know that's the case because in Scream 3, the mother was coming after Sydney. She was not there to help her. She was not there to support her in any way, to try to get her to see who she is. Like Billy through the whole movie is trying to convince Sam to go with who she is. The mother in Scream was an angry, vengeful ghost out to get her daughter for letting her get killed. Whereas Billy was not trying to get Sam. He was trying to, in some ways, help her, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I thought the whole Billy stuff could it have gone without it? Sure, it could have. But they did it, and I thought they did it well. I enjoyed it. I love seeing these old characters come back. Even if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense story wise, I love seeing the old characters come back. And I would love to see Stu come back. You know, while we don't get a Stu Macher sighting in this movie, we get Stu's old house. It's where the final third act, the entire third act takes place, just like in the original Scream. The last probably 35, 40 minutes of the movie takes place in Stu Macher's house, which is now owned by Amber, who, spoiler alert, turns out to be one of the killers. Amber's throwing a party, just like in Scream. Amber turns out to be one of the killers, just like in Scream. The other killer, well, if it's just like Scream, you can probably be pretty safe in assuming that it's the final girl's boyfriend, Richie. So Richie and Amber are the killers, and this was the point where I had a little bit of an issue. Amber was in the very beginning of the movie. She was the one on the phone with Tara. She's there here and there, but she doesn't have a whole lot to do. Richie's on screen for the majority of the movie, and they do a good job of making you forget at times. I thought anyway of making you forget that he was the boyfriend. He was the number one. Dewey kind of gave it away in Dewey's first scene where he told Sam, he said, "Never trust the love interest." Kind of gave it away, but Richie again, Jack Quaid did a great job of playing a really good character, really nice character, where you just didn't want to believe it. Billy in the original, if you go back, and of course it's easy with hindsight, but there were so many signs that that Billy was the killer in Scream. There was not as many signs that Richie was the killer unless you were just looking super close. I mean, you would have had to have really been looking super close to see it. There just wasn't that many signs. And Amber, there was no signs because, again, she just didn't do a whole lot. She was here and there, disappeared, didn't have a whole hell of a lot to do. I mean, I would have been a lot more okay with it being a different character. But at the end of the day, I'm not that upset about it. People are upset about the motives behind it. First off, I like Jamie Kennedy's line of Scream: "Motives are incidental." And when Billy says, "Did Norman Bates really have a motive? They ever find out what Hannibal Lecter liked to eat people?" No, I don't care about the motives. I really, truly don't care about the motive. It's not as if they were just, to me, the motive in Scream 4, and people are going to disagree with this, but the motive in Scream 4 was a lot more like, who gives a shit, than the motive in Scream 5. Scream 5 did a great job of talking about toxic fans. Not to say that that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't necessarily think so. I mean, I'm a diehard Scream fan, just like everybody else is. Everybody else is, that's seen the movie at this point. But at the same time, I you know, it's just a movie. It's not my life, and I'm not going to walk around and just be completely losing my mind over it because, oh my god, I didn't like the motive of Scream 5. Then you're one of those people that they're kind of pointing their finger at, and they're saying, look, they through the whole movie, the characters are bitching that Stab 8 wasn't as good as the other movies, and so the whole motive for the killers, again, uh, you know, uh, spoiler alert, the whole motive for the killers was Scream 8 sucked. We want to make a new one. So they are bringing back the legacy characters. They attack Tara to get Sam to come back, and they knew Sam would go after Dewey. When Dewey came back, he tried to get Sidney and Gale to stay away, but they knew that they wouldn't. They brought all the legacy characters back. They got everybody back into Woodsboro for a final massacre. That was their plan. That was their whole motive, was to make Stab 8 a better version of Stab 8, and to give Hollywood a new sort of material to write about. And then you got people on Facebook that are losing their minds, calling people stupid because they like Scream 5. You have some people that like Scream 5 calling people stupid because they don't. I could care less if you liked it or not. That's your prerogative. I enjoyed it. So don't come at me calling me stupid or saying I'm not a true Scream fan because I enjoyed it. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was what a Scream movie should be. It was funny at times. It was dark at times. And let's talk about the kills for a minute. There was very little in the way of like super creativity in these kills. These weren't Friday the 13th kills. But my God, was it violent. Absolutely violent. Bloody, gory. I bet they used more blood in this movie than they did in two of them combined. Which, you know, one of the issues that some people had when they found out who the killers were was, oh, Amber's not that big. You don't have to be that big to be able to swing a knife. So I don't buy into that too much. I think it's perfectly fine the way it is. I really enjoyed it, man. I did. One last thing I want to talk about: earlier in the movie, two of the characters from other films died. Of course, everybody's talking about Dewey. The only issue I had with Dewey dying was that he almost looked stupid in his death. He got the killer down, and then he's like, oh, I forgot. I got to shoot him in the head. So when he went back, the killer attacks and kills him. Excuse me. That was an issue I had. Dewey's not that stupid. Dewey may come off a bit goofy and stupid, but he's not that stupid. So the fact he forgot to shoot this guy in the head or girl in the head, and then he goes back by himself with the gun and doesn't even just shoot him from a distance. He walks right up to him and tries to put the gun to the guy's head, and then bam. You know, Dewey's not that stupid. But that was the only issue I had with it. The death scene overall was really good. It was really well done. It was really sad. It got your emotions, which is what it was supposed to do. So I didn't necessarily have a problem with that. I do think that he deserved a better death. Like, he deserved not to look stupid. Deputy or Sheriff Hicks in this one, Judy Hicks, played by Marley Shelton, who I'm a huge fan of, got a her destiny wasn't too bad because she ran right into Ghostface going to try to save her son. Ghostface was saying he was about to kill her son. She took off from the other side of town in her car, got there, ran up to the door, walked right into the knife. So, it's not that bad. It was pretty brutal death scene because the killer went ape shit on her. But she died trying to save her son, so I'm okay with that one. The Dewey scene is the one that got a lot of people, and I get it, and I'm not happy about the fact that he died because I love that character. He's my favorite character of the franchise by far. But at some point, in order to make the stakes higher, they even mentioned it in the movie. Dewey had to die to make the stakes higher. One of the main characters, had to die, and people are upset about Dewey, but people would have been beyond ticked at Sydney dying. And Gail's just too big a star apparently to ever get killed off in a movie, so she gets hurt in every one and somehow survives every time. Um, Overall, I'm going to give the movie an 8.5 out of 10. I mean, I really, really liked it, and I know a lot of people think, oh, if you really like it, give it a 9 or a 10. Well, I don't generally give perfect ratings. I mean, it takes something major to get a perfect rating from me. But 8.5 it's a great score for a great movie, and a movie that I would be happy to go watch again in the theater, and a movie I'm definitely going to own as soon as it's out available to own. I think it does what it needs to do well. I think it was highly entertaining. I think it was highly violent and graphic and funny at times. I think it was about as close to the first Scream as you can get. And you're talking to somebody who loves the sequels. Like I said, I even like 4. It's just not my favorite. It's probably my least favorite. Right now, my order would go 1, 5, 3, 2, 4. And I love part 2. Part 2 and 3 are pretty much equal to me. So it could go 2, 3, or 3, 2. 4 is still my least favorite. But this movie was just a lot of fun, man. Go if you haven't seen. Of course, if you haven't seen it and you're watching this, I've just spoiled the whole thing for you. But I will warn you. I warned you at the beginning, and I'll warn you anywhere I share it. I'll type in spoilers so people will know. But it's a fun movie. It's a graphic movie. It's funny at times. The killers were, the ghost face was really cool to see. Um, I like the way they intermingled some of the old characters and family of the older characters into the movies. Like I said, Randy Meeks' niece and nephews in this movie. Oh yeah, I did not say we find out that Kyle Gallner's Vince is Stu Macher's nephew. So he is, in fact, I think he might be the first one actually killed in the movie. He's the second one attacked and the first one actually killed, if I'm not mistaken. And we find out again he's Stu Macher's nephew. So you got Billy Loomis's daughter, Stu Macher's nephew, Randy Meeks' niece and nephew, and you still got Cindy and Gail and Dewey. So really fun movie. Go give it a watch. If you're disappointed, I'm not necessarily say you won't be disappointed because people have different opinions. But for me, I thoroughly loved it. I can't wait to see it again, and I hope there's a part 6 and they bring everybody back that's still alive. That would be awesome. So thank you for watching this edition of Aaron's Movie Reviews review for Scream 5 or Scream. It's just called Scream for whatever reason. Very good movie. It is rated R, graphic violence, language, some sexual content here and there. No nudity that I can remember, but sexual content here and there. And so, yeah, if it's playing locally, go see it. I think it's going to be on Paramount Plus in the next couple of months. I think March or April, maybe June, somewhere around there. But there is a really cool opening if you go see it in the theater with Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox basically thanking you for going to see it in the theaters and not watching it elsewhere. So that's a really cool thing. Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm at 29 minutes and 10 seconds. I'm trying to get up to exactly 30 minutes, but I don't. There's just not a whole lot else left to say that I haven't already said. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I'll probably be doing some more maybe this weekend while I can. I'm doing this on Saturday the 22nd, so literally an hour after watching the movie. But anyway, thank you. I'm Aaron. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys next time.